Live from KSAT 12, the 6 o'clock news starts right now.
Two men were freed from prison in San Antonio today in what the judge called a very exceptional situation. Drug possession charges against the pair were dismissed.
Paul Venema picks up the story from a remote hearing where the reason for that dismissal was explained and the release was ordered.
49-year-old John Cape and 48-year-old Louis Garcia have been in prison for almost 2 years, serving 8 and 10-year sentences on drug charges.
Well, this is certainly a very exceptional situation. These types of cases don't come up often at all. And so because it is an exceptional circumstance.
That exceptional circumstance, the evidence that led to their conviction, had been planted by an informant. That fact, the judge ruled, left her no choice but to order the cases dismissed.
What's going to happen is I'm going to release you today on a bond, on a very low bond.
Mesa set bond on each man at $1,000, meaning they'll each have to come up with $100. A recent gubernatorial order wouldn't permit a PR bond.
I have already signed, agreed, proposed findings in each of your cases. Those will be forwarded to the Court of Criminal Appeals.
It'll be up to them whether to agree with Judge Mesa and formally dismiss the cases. Paul Venema, KSAT 12 News.
New at 6, a mother facing a charge of child abandonment after deputies say they found her children home alone while she attended a Black Lives Matter meeting. Deputies arrested Jordan Parks after they were called to the home in northeast Bexar County. According to the sheriff's office, they found an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old home alone. They also found feces on the floor, and the sheriff's office says they've been called out to that home a couple of times in just the past few months. When deputies asked where their mother was, they say the older child told them that Parks was at a Black Lives Matter meeting and would be home soon. Parks was taken into custody when she arrived home. Child Safe and the sheriff's office are both investigating this case.
She allegedly gave her little brother pot and shared a video of that online. The Bexar County Sheriff's Office taking 18-year-old Larissa Contreras into custody on a child endangerment charge. The Sheriff's Office says the parents left Contreras in charge of her 3-year-old brother.
While with a group of friends, Contreras decided to give the boy marijuana and video record it. The Sheriff's Office tipped off by someone who saw that video on social media. The parents are not facing charges in the case, but Sheriff Javier Salazar says others involved could be charged. CPS is investigating.
A young girl shot on the east side while riding in the back of a car. The woman driving that car called police around 3:30 this afternoon. Investigators say that she told them she was driving in the area of MLK and Bookard when she heard 3 gunshots and realized that her car and the girl in the back had been hit. The victims made it to the H-E-B parking lot at MLK and South W.W. White Road, where they were able to call for help. The child who was shot was taken to a hospital in stable condition. No suspect in custody now, but officers did tell us they believe the shots were fired from another vehicle. Anyone with any information about what happened here is asked to call police.
The city of San Antonio appears close to locking down a plan to fund the Edwards Aquifer Protection Program into the next decade. Officials at the city and via Metro Transit have plans to divert the sales tax that's funded aquifer protection once the tax expires next year. City Council could vote on a different way to fund the aquifer program as early as next week. But City Hall reporter Garrett Berger tells us not all council members are fans. Garrett joins us live now from the newsroom. So, Garrett, break down exactly how this new plan would work.
Well, the idea for the Aquifer Protection Program itself remains unchanged, but the new plan to fund it would provide less money, $100 million over up to 10 years instead of over about 5 to 6. And instead of straight cash flow, this would incur debt for the city. The new funding plans wouldn't start until the 2023 fiscal year, after the sales tax money is spent. Then city staff says they're aiming to spend about $10 million a year to the program, most of it borrowed money, which would take the city decades to completely pay back. Mayor Ron Nirenberg has been pushing to use the sales tax for a workforce development program, and he painted this new funding route as the best solution.
The first and most important part of this agenda is for us to put our money where our mouth is. You know, we can't do it all, but we can try to strike as close to a balance of our community's needs as we possibly can.
Some council members have their doubts, like District 10's Clayton Perry, who raised the possibility of just waiting to see if the city and VIA's new plans for the sales tax fail at the ballot box before they pass this alternate funding plan. If those plans fail, the city could theoretically put the aquifer program back under the sales tax. The city attorney, however, says they'd have to wait until May 2022 to get it onto a ballot again. Now, there were also numerous questions about funding for the Greenway Trails system, which that same sales tax has also paid for in the past. We have more on that issue on our website, KSAT.com. Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
All right, thank you, Garrett. Caring for cancer patients during the COVID-19 pandemic has proven to be a challenge. Clinical trials have been postponed, cancer screenings have been missed, and the uncertainty of whether a treatment will increase the coronavirus risk has left cancer patients in the dark. Ursula Perry has the questions you need to be asking to get the best care.
Nearly 2 million Americans will be diagnosed with cancer this year, and more than 600,000 will need chemotherapy. So what happens when you add COVID-19 to the mix?
Does getting chemotherapy a week ago, and then if you get this disease, is that going to be really bad?
Researchers from Vanderbilt University created a multinational database of COVID-19 patients who also had or have ongoing cancer to find out. They found cancer patients who contracted COVID-19 had a 16% death rate. But that number was not the same for all cancer patients.
If you get older patients, such as those over the age of 75, and especially those that have multiple comorbidities, we're seeing death rates over 50%.
While patients who did not have any other comorbidities besides cancer,
At least in our registry, there have been no deaths at all.
They also found people who had recent surgery or chemotherapy were not at an increased risk for contracting COVID-19.
It tells me as a treating oncologist that if patients need treatment for cancer, they need to get it.
So what questions must you ask doctors when considering the risks and the benefits of getting treatment?
What's the best thing that can happen? What's the worst thing that can happen? What are the potential benefits and risks? Is there anything to think about differently now versus 6 months ago? Can I delay the start of treatment safely?
Also, talk about whether you want resuscitation attempts or mechanical ventilation and who you would want to make decisions if you're unable to. Finding the answer to these questions would allow you for better care later.
Dr. Warner says an additional question you should ask yourself is whether you're comfortable going into intensive care or hospice care sooner than you might have had coronavirus not been around. Ursula Perry, KSAT 12 News.
Check out TransGuide cameras now with time-saver traffic. This is I-35 at Wiedner. You can see traffic is very heavy in both directions, but moving along smoothly. No major traffic tie-ups to tell you about at this hour.
New at 6, Animal Care Services is ramping up its in-house spay-neuter surgeries again after being shut down by the pandemic. In the meantime, ACS has been issuing taxpayer-funded vouchers covering the cost for animals leaving that shelter. Jesse Degollado has an update on the results so far.
To comply with state law that every cat or dog adopted from its shelter must be sterilized, Animal Care Services started giving out vouchers like this last spring. 2,200 for dogs and cats that were adopted or taken in by rescues. Just over half were taken to veterinary clinics and other groups that partner with ACS. The average cost, $75, totaling under $85,000, paid by taxpayers. Rescue groups chose other options.
They are coming into compliant, and those that are not, they have legitimate reasons.
The ACS director says much like its clinic's limited capacity, coupled with COVID-19 safety measures, meant no more spay-neuter procedures in-house for several months, others are having to limit surgeries as well. Even so, he says ACS is tracking every voucher for every animal.
It is a priority of ours to be able to make sure that they are sterilized.
If not, he says people could face up to a $300 civil fine.
And those fines can continue to escalate and even go into a criminal fine if necessary.
That, he says, would involve a warrant.
Now, we are not, I will tell you that we are not at that stage yet.
Jesse Degollado, KSAT 12 News.
Live cam outside right now. Yes, you're looking at the right temperature. We have not hit 70 degrees.
69 degrees during the 6 o'clock hour. How about that?
We did make it to 72 earlier. That was a record cold, high temperature today. The aquifer has been loving this rainfall. It's up nearly 1.5 feet since yesterday and still responding to that rain. And now we're actually a foot above the September average, but we still have the stage 1 watering restrictions, of course. Rainfall since Monday, very impressive for most locations. The exception, though, Uvalde to Carrizo Springs, Crystal City, and not so much as you get west of I-35 and south of Highway 90 there. But it's that kind of rain that really boosts the aquifer. Some communities got over 5 inches of rainfall, and unfortunately that led to some road flooding, especially Falls City area earlier this morning. And that's where we have one little shower in basically the western corner of Karnes County. Otherwise remaining cloudy this evening. An isolated sprinkle. That would probably be it. A north wind at 5 to 10 and temperatures gradually falling through the 60s. Right now we're at 67 in Hondo, 71 Port SA, 65 Randolph, 72 in Pleasanton, and some lower 60s in the Hill Country. And by tomorrow morning, it's going to be unseasonably cool, but not record-breaking, 63 here in town. We'll talk more about when we warm up coming right up.
We're continuing to see the numbers trending in the right direction, signs of improvement when it comes to COVID-19 here in San Antonio. Let's go to City Hall for today's daily briefing.
Chief of Epidemiology here at San Antonio Metro Health, and this is our community update for COVID-19. We are reporting 69 new cases of COVID-19 in our community, which brings the total since this began to 47,956. Our 7-day moving average now has dropped a bit, thankfully, to 149 new cases per day. Unfortunately, we do have 9 new deaths to report tonight, which brings the total to 990. These deaths all occurred in the month of September between the 1st and yesterday, and these 9 members of our community were valued neighbors, loved ones, aunts, uncles, mothers, fathers, daughters, sisters, and brothers, so please keep them in your prayers. Tonight, over in our hospitals, there are 284 COVID patients in the hospital. That's down 14 from yesterday. We have a total of 7%, or the proportion of admissions in our hospital that are now COVID-19 are 7%. As a reminder that COVID is still in our community, though, there are 33 new admissions to the hospital since yesterday. 128 are in the ICU and 80 are on ventilators. In terms of capacity, 65% of ventilators are available and 13% of hospital beds are available. Over in schools, we've received some questions about what information school districts are required to report to Metro Health, so let me clarify some things. On September 3rd, Metro Health's health authority, Dr. Junda Wu, issued an updated health directive in line with the TEA's requirement for school systems and districts. School systems are not required to post data on their websites. However, the directive states, in addition to weekly aggregate reporting to the Texas Education Agency, school districts and school systems shall report COVID-19 positive staff and students to Metro Health within 24 hours by calling 210-207-8876. The health directive can be found at covid19.sanantonio.gov. And those members of our community, parents and others who would like to see updated statistics on the school districts themselves can find that on the Texas Education Agency website. Let me go over now to Commissioner Rodriguez.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. A couple of updates. First of all, encouraging numbers, I think, with the 7-day average going, I think, down below 150. It's a credit, to, I think, to the community. We need to keep persevering and wearing our masks and not social gathering in large groups. Wanted to give a couple quick updates with respect to the Commissioner's Court and what the county is working on. We know that there were, even before COVID, there were issues with mental health in our community. Today, we approved a pilot program that will change the way that we respond to 911 calls in our community. We know currently there's 3 different options. If you call 911, typically it's fire, police, or EMS. We are investing about $1.5 million this budget cycle for a pilot program to retrain dispatchers to be able to diagnose and also intervene, and also to hire some licensed mental health professionals. So this is a partnership between STRAC, South Texas Regional Advisory Council, Center for Healthcare Services, and I know the city is also in talks with potentially partnering with us on this. So exciting news for hopefully, again, changing the way we respond to calls in our community, particularly for those who have mental health issues. Other update I wanted to mention, I know the mayor has mentioned this previously on the need for folks to donate plasma. We know of the 40,000 or so folks who have recovered in our community from COVID. A really small percentage, less than 5%, have donated plasma. And of course, the plasma therapy has been proven to be effective in helping those who are trying to recover from COVID. Commissioners Court approved a $150,000 commitment today to provide funding in the form of stipends for those who've recovered and want to help others by making a plasma donation. So that'll be coming out with more information in the next few weeks. Lastly, Mayor, as you know, I'm not going to miss an opportunity to talk about an election coming up. Of course, please vote. We're about 54 days away from early voting, or excuse me, from Election Day, about 33 from early vote. The county is still in the process of finalizing the election voting sites. We should have those finalized, I'm hopeful, by next week. Of course, we're doing everything we can to make sure that these sites are safe and as accessible and convenient as possible for folks in our community. Already committed to mailing the over 65 folks in our community a vote by mail application. So we're going to do more early voting sites, longer hours, of course, larger sites like the AT&T Center. I want to remind folks who are not registered to vote that October 5th is the final day to do that. We matched up our office with Move Texas, and of course our world champion San Antonio Spurs. They will be co-hosting a drive-through voter registration event next week on Tuesday, September 15th from 6 to 8 p.m. So if you know anybody that's not registered, a great opportunity to get out there in a safe environment, drive through, and also visit the home of our world champion San Antonio Spurs. So again, thank you to the community, and Mayor, thank you for your support on shepherding, again, the accessibility and convenience of voting. I know we're also working with you on some of those early voting sites being senior centers. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner, and appreciate the work of the Elections Office and the court on that. And I noticed that the vote shirt is in silver and black, so absolutely, thank you to the San Antonio Spurs as well. Before we close, I'd like to take an opportunity to make you aware of a new free COVID-19 testing site that's now stood up at Las Palmas Library. This is run by the state. The address is 515 Castroville Road. It's open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. This is brand new just this afternoon. This is a state-funded site. There is no cost to you, and you do not need to register in order to get tested. They're administering a curative.
All right, you heard the mayor giving a little bit of news there at the end that the Las Palmas Library is the scene, or excuse me, the site of a new free testing opportunity there at the Las Palmas Library on Castroville Road. Again, we're seeing the trends go down as far as the number of new cases. Unfortunately, we saw 9 new deaths, though, and we're getting ever closer to having 1,000 deaths in the city and county since this pandemic began. We are now at 990 after the 9 new deaths that were reported today. 69 new cases reported in the last 24 hours. That is a lower number than we've seen in recent days. That 7-day moving average is also down as well, 149 cases on average over the last 24 hours. And the number of people in the hospital, that key number we've been looking at for months, that continues to go downward. We dipped below 300 for the first time in quite a while, just a couple days ago. Now we're at 284 in terms of COVID-19 patients hospitalized here locally. All right, let's switch over to Adam Caskey right now and talk about the weather situation out there. It's so much, now it's more about temperatures than precipitation.
Yeah, it is. A record-breaking day today. Take a look at our almanac data this morning. 57 for the low temperature. That broke the record of 59. That was last set back in 2012. And our high temperature was actually a record as well, because it was a record cold afternoon high of 72. Look at the departure from average across the state. Just about everybody, with the exception of Houston and parts of far east Texas, well below average. I mean, our high temperatures in the Panhandle were 30 to 35 degrees below average, even into Abilene. San Antonio, our high temperature was 20 degrees below average. Right now, or I should say highs today, only in the lower 50s, parts of Panhandle and West Texas. And then here in town, we made it up to 72 very briefly, and some 70s east of town, some 80s as you get along the coastline there. And even Houston topped out at 93. Clearly, they didn't get a taste of the cold front. It stalled out before making it to Houston. And right now, temperatures are for the most part in the 60s to near 70. But as we get into tomorrow morning, we'll have some 50s in the hill country. This is the forecast for 7 a.m. Kerrville, 54. Gonzales, 68, along with Pleasanton, and here in San Antonio at 63. Below average again, but not record-breaking. Then by the afternoon, we'll squeeze in some sunshine, and we'll see temperatures back into the 80s for most of us. Into the hill country, parts of Valverde County, even cooler, but around San Antonio and Bexar County will be in the 80s. Morning clouds, afternoon sun, better rain chances return by Monday and Tuesday of next week. Oh, back to 90 for the weekend, by the way.
Let's focus on the 80s until we get to the 90s, shall we? Thanks, Adam.
Larry has sports up next.
Pro football coverage, powered by Davis Law Firm.
We are less than 1 hour away from the Texans and the Chiefs kicking off the brand new NFL season. And the two highest paid quarterbacks will take the field in Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. COVID-19 altered the entire NFL offseason and wiped out all 4 preseason games. Only tackling happened during intra-squad action, and that was limited at times. Texans cornerback Bradley Roby says teams will likely struggle early on.
I think that, these first couple of games is going to be weird. It's going to be preseason-like, but, real stats. Everything's going to count, but it's going to look a little bit sloppy, on both sides of the ball for everyone. I just think so, just because we haven't played against anyone else but our teammates, So I think early on, those first 3 games, it's going to be a little bit sloppy, and then everyone to kind of get in their groove as the season goes on.
The Texans and Chiefs have been talking about a joint demonstration before the game that makes a statement on racial injustice. One possibility is both teams staying in the locker room during the national anthem, as reported by Tom Pellicerio of the NFL Network. And KSAT 12 Sports has learned that senior running back L.J. Butler has transferred back to Wagner High School per his mother, Lisa. This week, the UIL denied his appeal to play for the Judson Rockets. Lisa told us that Wagner welcomed him back with open arms. L.J. topped the 2,300 yards last season with 30 touchdowns. All right, week 2 of the college football season will feature the I-35 rivalry when Texas State hosts UTSA. The Roadrunners know their starting quarterback, but they haven't made it public. Today, offensive coordinator Barry Lunney Jr. said there's a chance we could see more than one QB play this Saturday, but they do believe in their starter.
We've picked the guy that we felt like has given us the best chance to win, and we're going to go with him. And but yeah, there could be an opportunity for another guy or two to affect the game, but it's not going to be musical quarterbacks by any means.
Meanwhile, Texas State is getting ready for its second game of the season. Bobcats head coach Jake Spavital knows UTSA will be well coached, but outside of that, he's not sure.
We don't necessarily know everything that's going to go into this game. We don't know all the defensive personnel and where they're putting stuff. We don't know what type of offense they're going to run. We believe it's going to be an up-tempo offense, and they're going to snap it a lot. Are they going to do quarterback run game? Are they not? Are they going to get into some unbalanced stuff? A lot of unknowns with that. So we're repping as much as we possibly can, and we're doing it at a high pace because that's what we're expecting.
Texas State and UTSA will kick off Saturday, 2:30 p.m. at Bobcat Stadium, and Texas State is favored by 9. Guys?
All right. Thank you, Larry.
You got it.
We'll be right back. Time now for today's KSAT Q&A. We are joined by an expert we have come to know well throughout this pandemic, local infectious disease doctor, Dr. Ruth Berggren with the Long School of Medicine at UT Health San Antonio. Thanks again for being with us. Let's start with vaccines. We know a big headline this week was the AstraZeneca trial that was halted because a participant in that vaccine had some significant side effects that were perhaps unexplained up until this point. What should people make of that news and where we are right now in the work to find a vaccine?
So I think the positive spin on it is that our pharmaceutical companies are
transparent. You do expect that things will happen to people's health when you test a large number of people, when you're studying a large number of people. And were there to have been no reports of any adversity, then you would wonder about the transparency. So something happened. What I've read is that it was an issue related to possible transverse myelitis, which is a neurological problem. And there was no way to know at this point whether it was related to the vaccine or not. But the company did the right thing. They halted the trial, and they'll be reviewing it. So don't be frightened by this. Be encouraged that clinical trials are being done with transparency, and there are stopgaps and backstops to make sure that everyone's safety is protected. This doesn't change your hope and optimism that we are eventually going to get a vaccine? No, not at all. There are multiple vaccines in human trials right now. There are at least 2 underway in San Antonio, a third one coming soon through UT Health and UHS. I believe at least 29 different vaccines being studied. So the fact that one trial got halted for one event that may or may not be related to the vaccine, that doesn't change anything. There's a lot of work that goes into getting a vaccine obviously created, one that is safe and available. But you've also raised the point about the infrastructure needed to then distribute that vaccine. So where do you think we are in that capability here locally, statewide, on the national level? What needs to happen for us to actually get this vaccine once it's available? Yeah, the whole country needs to start getting serious about that planning. It's a big logistical undertaking. You can't just wave a wand once you have your vaccine and say, okay, go deliver it. There's just a whole series of steps of getting the vaccine transported in the right amounts, stored properly, and then distribute to the appropriate places where vaccines can be given, making sure you have trained people that are qualified to give the vaccine, and that you can do it in a way that maintains the proper protective equipment and the physical distancing that's necessary. Folks, we're having challenges just meeting our requirements for catching up with back-to-school vaccines, childhood vaccines. Historically, we've only gotten about 50% of the people that need flu shots. And so to get, as a nation, 300 million people promptly vaccinated is going to take some time. That's not to say it can't be done, but we need to start focusing on those logistics and on a very local level, working with our metro health authorities and our state health authorities to make sure that we've got a plan in place so we can execute it rapidly when we get the vaccine. Before we let you go, I want to make sure we talk about a vaccine that we already have, which is the flu vaccine. There are some people who are wondering, is it too early to get the flu vaccine? Nope. Now's the time. I was on a phone conference call with my infectious disease colleagues just last night, and I heard about a confirmed case of influenza hospitalized at one of our local hospitals. So the flu, the new flu, this fall's flu, has arrived in our community, and so has the vaccine. So now's the time to go and get it. As soon as you get your shot, it's going to take 2 weeks before you're fully protected. I urge people to get this done well in advance of the election that's coming up, and also get it done well in advance of whenever you might have an opportunity to participate in a vaccine trial, because you have to have gotten it out of the way. You can't get your flu shot one day and go get your COVID vaccine or participated in a trial in a couple of days later. Weeks have to go by. So get that taken care of and get it out of the way, and do it now. The sooner the better. All right, so we've been seeing I noticed a lot of signs outside of pharmacies, doctor's office saying the flu vaccine is here. Certainly a health challenge that we don't need on top of the one that everyone else is already facing right now. Dr. Ruth Berggren, thanks as always for being with us. You'll be joining us again at 10:30. Lots more to talk about making headlines with COVID. Yeah, and some of our viewer questions, including, can I get reinfected? What is herd immunity? All of those things we'll bring up tonight on the Night Beat at 10. Dr. Berggren, thank you for your time. See you then. Thank you. We'll be right back. In the buzz today, say goodbye to those iconic green straws you use to sip your iced coffee from Starbucks. The company has officially abandoned straws in favor of sippy cup lids, which include a drinking spout.
I've had one. It's much more adult than it sounds, I promise.
It does sound like a sippy cup. Yeah.
The new lids are made of polypropylene, which is recyclable, and the company says it contains nearly 10% less plastic than the previous flat lid and the straw combo.
Though I'm a big fan of sippy cups, don't get me wrong.
In my house, too.
Yeah, Starbucks chief sustainability officer says it's another step toward its goal of a 50% reduction in waste by the year 2030. The new lid should be fully adopted in the United States and Canada stores by the end of the month. I've seen them at most of the stores in San Antonio.
Same. McDonald's also trying to go green by testing reusable coffee mugs. The company says when a person is done with their coffee or tea, they can return the mug to a McDonald's or a special drop-off point, and employees will wash them and reuse them. Right now, this is only being tested out in the UK.
Those don't look like mugs, though. They don't have a handle.
That's true.
Those are kind of cups. But anyway, whatever, McDonald's. There's a catch, though. You will have to pay a small deposit, which will be returned when you give back the mug/cup. McDonald's has not decided on a price yet. The company says disposable coffee cups are hard to recycle because they're made from paper, but also have a thin plastic lining, and that's hard to separate.
Okay. Well, forget eat more chicken. Chick-fil-A wants you to apparently eat some more chocolate. The fast food chain is adding a brownie and 2 new coffee drinks to its menu.
Yeah, the new chocolate fudge brownie has sweet chocolate melted into the batter as well as fudgy chunks. There's also a new blend of Thrive Farmers Hot Coffee grown from beans in Central and South America, and a seasonal mocha cream cold brew. All items join the Chick-fil-A menu nationwide on Monday.
Fudgy Chunks.
Fudgy Chunks. It's a good band name.
Do you have a running list?
I do.
Well, yeah, I should.
One-eyed alligator was earlier this week, and now Fudgy Chunks. One-eyed, cross-eyed possum. It's on there. All stories that we've done.
Wow.
I don't know.
Long list.
I'm partial to Alias.
That's my high school.
That's a legit band
/ college band,
right?
That
yeah,
happens.
he just sing with the hair, right? Lead man on that mic. Anyway. All right, so it was a record-breaking morning today and even this afternoon as well. We know 90s are just around the corner, so we're going to talk about when it's back to 90 degrees, the shorts and flip-flop weather, and when there's another chance of rain. We could see some more showers in the days ahead. We'll talk about that coming up.
All right, big reason to smile today, breaking the temperatures. So, is that awesome out there?
I was just laughing because people were like, oh, it's a soup day. I'm going to make some caldo. You know, like all these different
Bust
memes
out the
going
pumpkins.
around. Yep.
Fall is here.
Yep. Pumpkin spice for everyone.
Maybe so fast.
Pump the brakes, folks. Pump the brakes.
All right.
Okay. We'll be back to shorts and short sleeves before you know it. So if you like this weather, just embrace what we have out there right now and again tomorrow morning. But it was a record-breaking day. Look at these readings across the state. Not just here in San Antonio was it a record low, but Del Rio and then all the way northward through the Panhandle. Amarillo tied a record of 40. Lubbock, 43, breaking the old record by 4 degrees. So, yeah, a good chunk of Texas had record low temperatures. And we made it as cool as the 50s along and especially west of I-35 earlier this morning. Current readings, 80 Houston, 81 Victoria, 76 Corpus Christi. Houston was in the lower 90s. They've got some rain cool there now. They're on the warm side of the front that has stalled out over Texas. Meanwhile, near 70 degrees and some 60s for most of us. Even a few 50s out there. Rock Springs at 55, Junction 58, along with Fredericksburg. Let's fast forward to tomorrow morning. We'll see readings most likely in the lower 60s around San Antonio. Some 50s, though, in the hill country. Kerrville, 54 at sunrise. Meanwhile, 66 Carrizo Springs and New Braunfels. Then by the afternoon, we'll break out some sunshine. Morning clouds will lead to the afternoon sun. And then I'm expecting some 80s for most of South Texas. Obviously some exceptions in the hill country, but Lake Hill's about 86 tomorrow afternoon. Timberwood Park 82, Bernie 81. You get to Von Army about 86, and I think most of Bexar County in the mid 80s. Then by Saturday, it's back to 90 degrees. So near 90 Saturday and Sunday, and temperatures take just a little bit of a dip Monday and Tuesday of next week. That's a result of better rain chances. Let's talk about those rain chances. Not much left on the radar screen out there other than a few little sprinkles around Canyon Lake at Blanco. And we have one leftover shower just west of Falls City. That's a brief shower as it's about to cross over I-37. Closer to Houston, that's where we have had more action today. They're right along that frontal boundary that's stalled out. And the big picture still has this big upper level swirl over Colorado, that upper level low. That's going to be absorbed into the main flow and move on out of here the next couple of days. But it will be replaced by some smaller bursts of energy over Texas as we get into the early part of next week. So our next rain chance really isn't until Sunday, but that's just an isolated shot at a few showers, 20%. By Monday and Tuesday, it's looking a little more promising of more scattered activity. We had some good rainfall over the past few days, actually just 3 days straight at the airport, about 2¼ inches. Some parts of South Texas had over 5 inches. For those locations, it's actually good to spread out the rainfall a little bit. Looks like we'll have several days with a break, some warmer temperatures, some sunshine. Things will green up nicely, and then another shot at rain. So tomorrow morning, 63 with the low clouds to start the day, 77 at noon, then 84 with sunshine by the afternoon. Some morning fog on Saturday, otherwise right near 90 degrees and a lot of afternoon sunshine. Sunday, partly cloudy, right near 90 for the high temperature. Then we get into next week, and there's that enhanced chance of rain by Monday and Tuesday. But notice, no strong cold fronts. Not even the potential for a strong cold front.
I'm just liking no triple digits.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm liking?
Thermometer Thursday.
The day of the week.
Weather calmed down a little today, and I was able to get outside in the garage and get some work done. Made some scales, paired them up with the proper thermometer, because I can't just make a bunch of scales and have them match to thermometers. You make the thermometer, and depending on its calibration, that will dictate the scale. So each thermometer has its own unique scale, and I'm putting these together right now. And of course, I do have a winner, but I want to give a shout out to Margarita and her nieces. They came by the other day, picked up their thermometer. They got their thermometer Thursday, masks. We had a good time, and it was all around fun. Oh, look at that matching. What a duo there, huh? I like that. So this week's winner, dun, 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 Cynthia Garza of San Antonio. And I just emailed you, Cynthia, so the Cynthia Garza who just received my email, you're the winner of this week's homemade thermometer. Go to ksat.com/thermometer to enter the drawing. One thing, I was going to start this week, but got delayed. Shocking. Happens a lot. We're going to be working on a wet bulb temperature. So we're going to be working on measuring the wet bulb temperature, which is important for measuring the moisture content of the air. So that's something Sarah Spivey and I will be getting around to. We'll be joining forces on.
Okay. I imagine more explanation.
There's going to be a lot more
to come.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, because I'm really just nodding my head like, oh, yeah, wet bulb. Yeah, of course.
Really, yeah.
Of course, yeah.
In case you missed it, coming up next. Here's today's In Case You Missed It.
And good morning. It is Thursday, September 10th. New this morning, a man recovering in the hospital after he was shot in the leg by a man who was sitting inside his car early this morning. The victim walked outside of his home, and he found the suspect just sitting inside his truck. Police say when the victim yelled at the man to get out, the suspect shot him. Police tell us the suspect got away on a bike and was found at a nearby Valero gas station, and when officers approached him, he took off running. Right now, police are still looking for that suspect.
Police also investigating a different shooting, this time on the northeast side. The 26-year-old victim was shot in the neck. It happened in the 600 block of Gendler Road.
She allegedly gave her little brother pot and shared a video of that online. The Bexar County Sheriff's Office taking 18-year-old Larissa Contreras into custody on a child endangerment charge. The Sheriff's Office says the parents left Contreras in charge of her 3-year-old brother.
While with a group of friends, Contreras decided to give the boy marijuana and video record it. The Sheriff's Office tipped off by someone who saw that video on social media. George Holland is accused of fatally shooting his wife, 82-year-old Janice Holland, last night. It wasn't until 9:30 this morning that her body was found inside the home in the 100 block of Mendoza Street.
A young girl shot on the east side while riding in the back of a car. Investigators say that she told them she was driving in the area of MLK and Bookard when she heard 3 gunshots and realized that her car and the girl in the back had been hit. The victims made it to the HEB parking lot at MLK and South W.W. White Road, where they were able to call for help. The child who was shot was taken to a hospital in stable condition. No suspect in custody now, but officers did tell us they believe the shots were fired from another vehicle.
And
I told her, you know what, just go save yourself. Because
this San Antonio man did not think he was going to make it after that huge explosion in Beirut. But tonight he is sharing his story of survival and the new mission that he and his wife are now on to help Lebanon. That's tonight on the Night Beat.
Fascinating story. All right, time saver traffic. TransGuide camera at I-10 and Crossroads want to show you right now. You can see traffic is completely closed down. I believe these are the westbound lanes of I-10. You can see at least one car, we're told, rolled over here. But traffic just trickling through right now at I-10 and Crossroads.
That is going to be a significant backup for a while.
Weather-wise, just remaining cloudy this evening and tonight, dropping down to 63 by tomorrow morning. Clouds to start the day, then sunshine into the afternoon, making it into the mid-80s. So if you want a return of the warmer weather, it's on the way. Mid-80s tomorrow. Then as we get into the weekend, we're right near 90 for the high temperature with a decent amount of sunshine over the weekend, a chance to dry out and everything to green up. And then looks like some scattered rain possible by Monday, Tuesday.
Thanks, Adam. And thanks for watching the news at 6.
See you on the Night Beat at 10.